Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Now today I'm going to be making some cupcakes with a Christmassy flavour. I saw a recipe. I've been looking for recipes and I had one in mind of my own that I was going to do, but I saw a recipe on bakingmad.com which was for ginger and cinnamon cupcakes, and I quite liked how that recipe looked. So I've used that as the basis for mine, but instead of using ginger and cinnamon only in mine, I'm going to use my Speculaas spice. Now I made that a couple of weeks ago and I've used that, so I'm making some more, and I'm making more than I need, but I'll just go through those ingredients with you. But if you want to substitute just ginger and cinnamon, that would be fine. So for the ingredients for the cupcakes, I have this here. And here's the spices. Here I have 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of coriander, half a teaspoon of cardamom, half a teaspoon of cloves, a quarter of a teaspoon of mace, and a quarter of a teaspoon of white pepper. Now this is much more than I need for this recipe. But I'm going to be using it, I really do love this flavour, and I'm going to be using it for other things over the Christmas period. So what I'm going to do is just put that into a little container without making too much mess, and then I'm going to stir it around to get it all mixed, combined. The smell is just wonderful, and I have to say the taste of the Speculaas biscuits that I made with this mixture last week were fantastic. I couldn't stop eating them. Right, so with all the mixture in, I'm just going to give that a good stir around so that the various spices, as well as about to make me sneeze, I think, are all mixed together. So with our spice made, I go on to the other ingredients. I have 150 grams of self-raising flour, 150 grams of light brown muscovado sugar, 3 medium eggs, that would be large in the USA, 1 tablespoon of milk, and 150 grams of softened butter. And the first thing we want to do is to cream the butter and the sugar together. Or I should say I'm going to use 1.5 teaspoons of this mixture in the cakes, and I use a little bit more in the buttercream later. So the first thing to do is to cream the butter and the sugar together. And the butter is softened and it's unsalted butter. But you need it very soft for creaming like this. So we'll just cream this together. So that's nicely creamed together, and I'll just leave that to one side for a minute, and I'll take 1.5 teaspoons of my spice mixture and put it into the flour, and then stir that round to get it combined. And then I'm going to add the eggs into the butter one at a time and mix them, and as necessary add a little bit of flour in as well to stop it from curdling. So the first egg and a little bit of flour, and we'll do the same with the other 2 eggs as well. And then we'll add the milk as well. And finally the flour, and we'll just mix it until it's combined. And with that all combined, there's a little bit of loose flour, so I'll just stir that in. Now I should say I have my oven preheating at 180 Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I've got a muffin tin lined with paper cases. So the next thing to do is simply to spoon our mixture into the paper cases, trying to get it even throughout the 12 cases. So that's our mixture divided fairly evenly, and I'm going to put those into the oven and bake them for 15 to 20 minutes until they've turned a nice golden colour and a skewer poked into the centre comes out clean. Then I'll take them out and let them cool down, and when they've cooled down I'll come back and we'll make the topping. Right, so I'm back with you, and our cupcakes have baked and they're cooling down nicely here. And so I'm going to get on and make the frosting for them. So what I'm actually going to do is to make a frosting and also make a little caramel sauce that gets mixed into the frosting. So for the caramel sauce, I have 50 grams of butter in this saucepan, and into that I'm going to put 50 grams of light brown muscovado sugar and 2 tablespoons of milk. And then for the remaining icing sugar, I have 150 grams of butter which is softened and 200 grams of icing sugar, and I have a tablespoon of milk if I need it, but hopefully I don't need it. And then I also have just a sort of about 1/4 teaspoon of my spice mix that I used in the cakes. Now that could be sprinkled over the top afterwards, but I'm going to put mine in with the icing sugar, and so that will get mixed in to the buttercream. So the first thing to do is to make the sauce, and that is to heat this butter, sugar and milk up until it's heated through, the sugar has melted and it's got a nice sort of thick consistency. So I'll do that and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've made the sauce and it's cooling down a little bit in the jug, and I've taken about 2.5 tablespoons out, or 2 tablespoons to 2.5 tablespoons out, to drizzle over later. So as that cools down, I'm going to mix this butter until it's nice and creamy and soft. And then I'm going to add in the icing sugar and the spice. Now you could sift this, I'm not going to sift mine. The beaters will break up any lumps, I'm sure. And I'm going to stir it around without turning the beaters on first of all, because I don't want the powder to go all over the place. It normally falls. And then I'm just going to add in the sauce. Okay, so that's the buttercream mixed. Now I actually added in an extra tablespoon of icing sugar because I think the mixture was a little bit softer than I wanted it to be. That may be because I didn't let the sauce cool down properly, but with that I'm actually going to put the icing into a piping bag. Now you don't have to do this, you can if you want to just spoon it on, but I'm going to put it into a piping bag and pipe it onto the cupcakes, and then I'm actually going to let them sit for the butter to firm up just a little bit before I taste them. And you can pipe or put this icing on in any way you want. And I just have a star nozzle on my piping bag. And then I'll see how we go with the piping. I'm not very good at this. As you can see, I've transferred these to a wire rack. I should have done that before I started piping. I suddenly thought I was going to have a difficult job to get them out once I'd piped them out of the tin, but I managed the 6 that I'd done like that. And that's it. So with those piped, what I'm going to do is just stand them on a baking tray so that I can drizzle some of my sauce over them. I'm just going to take a little bit of the sauce and drizzle it. And that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave those so that the frosting firms up just a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll have a taste. Okay, well, I'm back with you, and I've let the cupcakes sit so that the buttercream can firm up just a little bit, and I've taken the paper off one, as you can see, so I'll just have a taste of it. That is very, very good. I was a bit concerned that there might not be enough spice in there, but that spice comes through perfectly, and the nice sweetness and creaminess of the buttercream. They're very good indeed. Ideal for this time of year with that particular flavour. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen, as ever, there will be an eye that you can click on to take you to this recipe, and I'll put a link to it as well below the video, and I will be back with you with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.